Okay, hi everybody. I'm Megan Morris, Data Solutions Manager here at Support Kansas City. You likely know that our organization exists to provide operational support of all sorts to growing nonprofits in Kansas and Missouri. My department focuses on implementing and administrating donor and constituent management systems, CRMs, DRMs. Part of our work is helping organizations select and integrate online fundraising tools. But if you're just getting started, you might not need all of those advanced toolkits yet. And young nonprofits in particular have to be conscious of overhead, both in time and money. So this talk is going to focus on the basics of getting started, and there are a lot of them. Setting up your online presence, choosing a donation platform, and understanding your legal responsibilities. So we'll focus on keeping costs, add-ons, and buy-ins to a minimum. And with that, we'll get started. Right at the top, why does online fundraising matter? First and foremost, donors expect this. People are used to paying with a card or even a phone tap everywhere. And if they can't do the same with your nonprofit, it feels like you're behind the times. Your online presence signals legitimacy. When someone Googles your name, they want to see a real website, a donate button, and clear contact information. And that's the difference between looking like a credible nonprofit versus just a social media page. Modern tools integrate with the systems that you're already using, like QuickBooks and spreadsheets, so you can track donations more easily. And don't forget, adding links or QR codes to your materials, flyers, and even presentations makes it simple for people to give in the moment. Finally, and practically, online fundraising is an opportunity to diversify your revenue beyond grants and major donors. You can also by setting up to allow recurring donations online, you also have the opportunity to create reliable and sustainable income. So let's get started with establishing your online presence. Before donating their time, money, or energy, people are going to check whether your organization looks and feels real. They may look up your historical 990s if you have those, but more than likely their first impression of you is going to be what comes up when they Google you. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead and Google your organization now. Google is not the only search engine, but it's by far and away got the largest share of users. So it's the right place to focus your energy when you're starting out. And your job is to make sure that when someone looks for your organization, they find clear, credible information. And this is a small investment in time and money, but it has a huge impact. The first thing that you need to do if you haven't already done this is buy your domain. A domain is your website name. So in our case, it's supportkc.org. Buying a domain is cheap, it's fast, and it's even cheaper if you buy several years in advance. Aim for your organization name or a short variation. If the exact name isn't available, choose a close variant. Avoid like a long hyphenated URL or anything that is difficult to spell. Using a .org is best, but be mindful of similar sites. If yourname.com points to a completely different organization, then yourname.org may cause confusion. Claim the domain name right away so that you control your brand moving forward and so someone else doesn't take it. We'll talk more about email in a few minutes, but owning your own domain will allow you to customize your email, which lends credibility and professionalism. Google domains or Namecheap are both straightforward. Your web host will generally also offer domain hosting, but be mindful of tying yourself to one singular provider for everything. You can own your own domain independently and carry it with you anywhere, just like a phone number. The next step in establishing an online presence is to build a simple website. You can build a credible presence with just a single page, while in the fullness of time, you may want or need to expand on that. Unless you've got a volunteer web designer on your team or in your household, you probably shouldn't spend a lot of time with this. At the top of the page, you want a mission statement. You want your donate button. You want 1 to 3 brief impact examples, concrete, tangible ways that you are working locally to serve your mission. And that's the key. Uh, One complaint that a lot of donors have, especially in the age of big data and outsourcing, is that they're being solicited for donations that won't stay in their neighborhoods. Your website is a chance to tie your org directly to the community you're serving. You can compound this if you decide to flesh out your About Us page with employees and board members who live locally and are affiliated with schools and organizations that your donors will recognize. So you should also on your website include your contact information and your IRS designation. You can also include your EIN number. And make sure that it's mobile friendly. Especially in Kansas and Missouri, we've got a lot of rural constituents. The internet is slow. Make sure it loads quickly on a mobile device. Web hosting, I'm not going to get too deep into this. Web hosting is not a service that Support Kansas City offers, but I do want to discuss it briefly. One thing I see somewhat frequently is new organizations being oversold on web hosting packages, paying much more and getting much more than they will use in the next few years. There are a number of web hosts that offer free or very inexpensive service to nonprofits, like $3 a month. These are basic packages that do the basics, and that's all that you need to get started. DreamHost, Bluehost, Hostinger, and Green Geeks are all solid choices. What to look for, shared hosting, that means that you're on the server with other websites, not your dedicated server. You want security features, anti-spam features, bonus if they offer email integration, and then extra bonus if they offer nonprofit discounts. A lot of them do. The next step for establishing online legitimacy is to claim your name everywhere. You want to claim your name on major platforms so that when someone searches, they're seeing consistent results. You don't need to be actively posting everywhere, but claiming the handle prevents future impersonation. It helps people verify that you are you. It also secures possibilities for future growth. A key part of this is to set up a Google business profile. This helps your org appear in search and on Google Maps, and it lets you control the summary of what shows up at the top of the page when you Google. Once you have established your website and your social media platforms, you can flesh them out with your Donate Now button. There are a lot of full service database and donor management systems out of there. Most of them cost money. Some of them cost a lot of money. What you're paying for is customization, support, personalization, and a suite of tools, which you may or may not need right now. Today, we're talking about the basics. So we'll talk about the payment processors themselves, their apps, and the emerging no-fee platforms. An additional word of caution that I'll give here, your bank or your credit union almost certainly has a merchant services package to offer you that includes online payment processing and even physical card scanning. These services can almost certainly meet your needs. They are far from the most cost-effective options. As you grow your giving program, it'll be important to prioritize minimizing overhead. So that's our focus today. So starting with the mainstream payment processors, PayPal, you know it. It's a solid choice with a competitive transaction fee rate, 1.9% plus 49 cents per transaction. That's for nonprofits. Because PayPal can be linked to users' bank accounts as well as credit cards, both ACH and credit card transactions are native. PayPal also owns Venmo now, so they've got quite a lot of payment options. It's the old standard from the internet's earliest days. Most people already have PayPal accounts. One of the pitfalls with PayPal is that there is a redirect to the PayPal login, which does add a slight hitch to your payment process. It's very easy to get started with PayPal. You should be aware that PayPal's site is branded for PayPal, while you can add your own name and branding. It will be very clear to your donors when they're on PayPal's website versus yours. To some, that can signal trust. To others, it makes the checkout process feel not as seamless as it could. The other major player is Stripe, a little bit newer, but really ubiquitous at this point in time. They have a solid reputation of trust. They have a very robust API. They are the backbone of a lot of technology on the internet. And you can hire them on directly. They have nonprofit pricing. It's pretty competitive. You can see the per transaction fee is a little lower. The percentage is a little higher. It works out. If you take a $100 donation, PayPal versus Stripe, it's a difference of like 20 cents. Let's see. Uh, Stripe offers slightly more branding and customization out of the box than PayPal, but it is similarly limited in terms of custom receipting. That is available with Stripe, but you have to pay for it. For moderately sized ACH transactions, their fee schedule is very favorable. However, there are transaction limits if you're considering them for major donors or event sponsorships. Stripe integrates with practically everything. It allows embeddable payment forms so your donors can stay on your web page. One brief note, I'm not going to talk too much about Square. A lot of people have favored it in the past due to its physical mobile card scanners. These days, physical card scanners are available for both PayPal and Stripe transactions. Square, their transaction fees are high at 3.5% plus 15 cents. They do not offer nonprofit discounts. And they don't have the same ubiquity of integrations online as Stripe or PayPal. So for these reasons, it's not one of my top recommendations. Peer-to-peer apps. So we've mentioned that we need to make it easy for people to donate, but I do need to emphasize that this doesn't necessarily mean you need to open accounts every single place. Peer-to-peer apps are convenient ways to pass funds in our increasingly cashless society, but they can also be a barrier to people who aren't savvy users of technology or who simply don't trust their finances on a mobile app. They shouldn't be your primary choice. These apps are typically made for quick payments via mobile phone, and their reporting and receiving functionality is limited. However, if your donor base is already using these platforms, if for whatever purpose, whatever affiliation, if your donor base is already using these, you should opt into one of them. Just be mindful that you'll be trading convenience of receiving funds for a bit more work in terms of record keeping on the back end. Okay, so we'll talk about the free platforms. There are a couple of different models for these. Market research has shown that given the option, most donors will opt to cover credit card and processing fees when making a charitable donation. There are several no-fee platforms that use this as a basis for their business models. These platforms can fill your needs very well. They provide embeddable forms and custom receipting. Anecdotally, Support Kansas City uses Omela. We're very happy with it. Some caveats to be aware of. You may still be responsible for the fees if the donors choose not to cover them. Most of these platforms are built over Stripe, but generally it's the business's Stripe account, so you will not be eligible for that nonprofit rate. I think it's 2.9 plus 30 is their standard rate. So a slight difference there. You and your donors may end up paying even more than the standard credit card processing fee. Some of them default to charging whatever the highest rate for everybody. That's the rate for everybody. The other thing that we need to be mindful of on these platforms are hidden fees. A fee to disperse funds, a fee to write you out a check, customer service might be paid only. There are a lot of, as I said, there are a number of these different platforms. They all have their own little quirks. These are the things that you need to look for. And a final thought on this is add-on payments and tip fatigue is very real. So while it's true that most people are happy to cover the fees, some people may have a strong negative reaction to the premise of these apps. So just be aware of that. Apart from the donor covered fees model, another business model that we see is the platform fees model. Platforms like DonorBox are free to get started with, but in addition to the credit card fees, they also charge a per transaction platform fee. In the case of DonorBox, it's between 3 and 4%, in addition to the credit card processing fees. So In the case of DonorBox, you are able to get Stripe or PayPal set up with the nonprofit discount, but then you're going to be paying that platform fee on top of the card fee. As with other free platforms, it's common to see additional functionality come at a premium. As you grow, you may end up paying more overall for the same features available on platforms that are subscription-based from the onset. Still, I need to emphasize that there are a number of very solid choices in this sphere, and there's nothing inherently wrong with a fee schedule that grows with your organization's needs. My goal here is only to advise you of the things that you should consider when deciding on a given payment platform. So once you've made your selection, your next obligation is to integrate it everywhere. You want that donate button on your site. Don't bury it. Put it at the top. You want that link on your social media bios. You'll want to put it in your posts. You want to generate a QR code for your events and your flyers. Most importantly, you need to test this thoroughly before you go live with it and say, here, donate. Click through the flow as if you were a donor, make a small $2, $3 donation, make sure the forms work, make sure the receipts look correct, check everything before you say it's done. Skipping this step and just going straight into launching your campaign can cause problems later, so avoid it. Before we leave the platform section, here is a quick compliance flag, and we do have a couple of links that will be posted in the chat about this. In Kansas and in Missouri, if you are going to be soliciting donations in the state, you need to be registered as a nonprofit. So the attorneys general respectively in Kansas and Missouri have means to register your nonprofit. Most of you have probably already done this, but if you haven't, be advised that you must. And if you expand your efforts beyond Kansas and Missouri, bear in mind that other states have similar rules. So just be aware of the requirements. Okay, now that we're set up, we're compliant, we've got a platform, we've got a web presence, we're ready to launch an actual campaign. I've got 6 W's to frame it: who, what, where, when, why, and ways. Who, it is important to always stay on message about the people that you are serving. Don't drift off into generic appeals. What, this is your cause or your call to action. This is your specific ask, the specific purpose that you are raising funds. We want to ask for a specific dollar amount. We want to ask for a specific reason. So please give is a weak statement. Please help 20 students buy supplies for this school semester is a strong statement. And when you're forming your goals, you need to do some math. You need to be realistic. If your goal is to raise $5,000, that means $225 gifts. If you have 200 donors that can support that, that's great. If not, you might want to make sure that you're setting realistic goals, both for the sake of your own team and for the sake of your supporters. They want to see you, meet your goals. So let's keep our goals reasonable. Where we want to decide what platform is going to host the campaign, where are we going to post our updates, where are we going to post the appeal, and we want to stay consistent with that throughout the campaign. When timing of your campaign matters, my next slide is about that. We'll come back to it. Why? Always connect the ask to the impact. So each $25 donation buys a backpack full of supplies for one student. Ways, finally, build non-monetary ways for your supporters to help. Consider accepting in-kind gifts or put together a little marketing packet for your supporters to share your donation links with their own followers. Not everybody can afford to help you. That doesn't mean they aren't desiring to help you. So give them that opportunity. Okay, when to launch your campaign. We're coming into giving season. Giving Tuesday in December are the peak giving seasons. At this point in time, everybody knows that. Everybody is making asks during this period of time. Launching a campaign just because it's Giving Tuesday can actually dilute your message. The best timing for a fundraising campaign is when your ask is urgent and specific. So fundraising for winter coats in October makes sense because we all know the cold weather is coming. Fundraising for school supplies in August makes sense. But if your main program is a summer camp, then November might not be the best time to dedicate to your big push. You'll get more traction by aligning your fundraising with your own program calendar rather than fundraising for fundraising's sake. So you don't want to risk your organization getting drowned out in the noise of Giving Tuesday and year-end campaigns unless they suit your specific purpose. And when you launch your online fundraising campaign, you need to make sure that you are creating a unified campaign presence. So it should look the same everywhere. If you're raising money on Facebook for winter coats, your website should say the same thing. Twitter and Instagram should point to the same appeal. Your donors are savvy. Your supporters are going to follow you on multiple platforms. So if Facebook says one thing and your website says another, and the emails you sent out says something entirely different, that's going to look sloppy. So think of it as one campaign with multiple doorways. Allow your donors to enter through the website, through social media, through email, but once they're in the same place. A fragmented campaign can split your momentum. You want to make sure that you are running one strong appeal instead of 5 weak appeals. Speaking of Facebook and Instagram, these are the big two when it comes to social fundraising. Both run their donation tools through the PayPal Giving Fund, which is not related to having PayPal as a payment provider. It's a separate thing. The PayPal Giving Fund is a donor advised fund. Basically, it allows you to donate to the Giving Fund, and then the Giving Fund will make a disbursement to your organization. Once you are set up on Meta with this, you can run fundraisers off their platforms. The pros here are that donors already trust these platforms. They're already using these platforms. The fundraising campaigns are easy to launch and they're easy to share. The cons to running these campaigns, you don't always get a lot of good donor data. So thanking people is difficult. The other thing is that payouts are delayed, like 1 to 3 months, sometimes more. And then the receipts are coming from Facebook or PayPal and the Giving Fund and not from your organization. So while these tools can bring in new money, you do lose some control over the stewardship. But once you are registered on Facebook or Instagram as a nonprofit organization, any supporter can launch a campaign on your behalf. And that's why you see so many birthday fundraisers everywhere. It's very simple for a supporter to set up, and they're often bringing in new donors that you wouldn't have reached otherwise. What's important to know about the contact information is that you're only going to receive donor information that the donors explicitly choose to share with you. So even people who are not necessarily trying to protect their privacy end up coming through as anonymous because they didn't explicitly share it. So sometimes this is going to mean that you don't get much donor data at all, but when people do share, that's often brand new people you would never have reached otherwise. And you can begin to cultivate a network of repeat or volunteer fundraisers on these platforms. One thing you can do to support this is to provide a short blurb, campaign images that your supporters can copy and paste into their own posts. This will help keep your messaging consistent. When someone launches a fundraiser, you can tag them, thank them, repost them publicly. A quick comment will go a long way to showing appreciation. You'll also be lending your legitimacy to their fundraiser, so you're strengthening the whole effort. Done right, supporter-led fundraisers can grow into a steady network of volunteers who are amplifying your mission year after year. Email is still one of the most effective fundraising tools available. I'm sure we all get tons of fundraising emails, but they work. And don't think that you need fancy software or a platform to get started. You can use the tools you already have. You can send out of Gmail, Outlook, or your own email client. Remember that emailing from your own domain is better than emailing from Yahoo or gmail.com. In addition, studies have shown that emails from a specific person versus a generic fundraising or info account are more likely to be opened. So when you're making an appeal via email, send it from your name at yourdomain.com and include your signature. Any request is better met when it's made personally. You want to make sure you're keeping the subject lines clear and professional. Be very careful with the emojis. Don't overload your message with links or images. And never BCC a gigantic list of like dozens and dozens of people. That's going to trigger spam filters. So even people who are explicitly whitelisting you are not going to receive your messages because they were blocked by the ISP. So small batches, don't send to 200 people at once. The key here is to keep your appeals short and clear. You want to make the ask at the top of the page, share one story, make the ask, include one link and the button to give. As your list grows, MailChimp offers a free tier for audiences up to 500 subscribers. This is a good next step when you're ready to manage larger batches of donors, handle unsubscribes, fold in additional branding, and begin to track analytics on how your campaigns are actually being received. Our final topic is going to be tracking and compliance. Your payment processor will let you export the basic information about your donations, name, date, transaction ID, and amount. That's good, but it's not enough. You need to make sure you're including the campaign and the appeal that the donation came from. Otherwise, you won't be able to gauge the effectiveness of your efforts. And the other part is respecting donor intent. Touching quickly on the subject of restricted funds, if you explicitly ask for funds to buy, for example, winter coats, then that money needs to go towards buying winter coats. You can't turn around and use it for general operations or some other type of programming. It's not just bad ethics, you can be at legal risk. So when you're tracking gifts, in addition to the date and the amount, you want to make sure you're tracking whether those funds are restricted. You can be mindful with your phrasing. You can say that you can frame a specific fundraising effort in such a way that it allows for general use of funds, even though your efforts are aimed at a specific purpose, rather. But if a donor designates funds for one specific thing, you must honor that promise. And to do that, track it in your records. Finally, if you are not storing your data in the cloud, always back it up. You don't want to lose these records. Losing records is losing trust. We'll have a download packet at the end of the presentation. I've included a sample spreadsheet for all the columns that you need to be tracking. We want to make sure that data from all our sources is combined everywhere. It's just good record keeping to have a master list of all donations, export from every source, whether it's PayPal or Stripe, your Facebook donations, anything from Venmo or Cash App, add in your cash and check donations in kind, record everything together under the same campaign. The key tie-in is this. Online fundraising does not exist in a vacuum. It's part of your overall fundraising strategy. Blending online and traditional donations in your records gives you a full picture of your campaign's success and keeps your stewardship consistent. Even if you can't attribute a donation to a specific purpose, a specific person, as we were discussing with the social media sites, you get a lot of anonymous donations. You should still record those as anonymous. Label it with the source, the date, and the amount. There are two reasons for this. First of all, you might be able to connect it to someone later. And second of all, anonymous gifts still count towards public support. So under the IRS rules, that counts in your favor. If you leave them out, you're underreporting your fundraising strength and potentially hurting yourself with compliance. Where to do this tracking? There are free options. A lot of people think that Excel is the only option. That's not true. LibreOffice, OpenOffice are open source softwares that have a whole Office suite, and they're completely free, desktop only. Google Sheets is free. It's cloud-based, very good for collaboration. Excel is, everybody knows it. It's a heavyweight. It is expensive. If your organization already has Microsoft 365, go ahead and use it. If you don't, there are free tools you can use instead. And as you grow, maybe you'll graduate to a CRM, but you don't need to feel pressured to start there. A spreadsheet is going to be just fine. And again, we do have a template available for after the presentation. Tax receipt requirements. By law, you must provide tax receipts for any donor who gives $250 or more in tax-deductible gifts during a calendar year. That is the sum total of deductible gifts, not just a single donation of $250 or more. And that means that you need to be tracking donations across the year for every donor. This is a good reason to standardize how you record the names in your spreadsheet. So remember, this is the sum within the calendar year, not your fiscal year. The IRS cares about January 1 through December 31st. Also, important to remember, a credit card receipt is not the same as an acknowledgement, and it's not the same as a tax-deductible gift receipt. So while it's possible to combine a thank you, a credit card receipt, and a tax-deductible gift receipt all in one message, you need to make sure that you check your platform's receipting. And if you can't customize it, then you have to manually make up the difference. You do not have to send paper receipts. You can do this by email. It's completely acceptable. In fact, it's the standard. The only time paper is required is when you have no other means of communicating with your donor. That said, a mailed paper letter is a very nice touch, especially with people who are giving large amounts, older people, and people that you want to cultivate better relationships with. And that's stewardship, not compliance. Briefly on donor acknowledgement, you want to make sure people are being thanked as quickly as possible, same day if possible. The automated emails that come from some of your giving platforms, they're nice. It's also nice to supplement them with an extra thank you. When appropriate, acknowledge your donors publicly. We've got all these social media platforms set up, but always make sure you have their permission to do so. Don't just, put people on blast about their giving capacity. They won't like that. Receipts are going to keep you compliant. Acknowledgements are going to keep your donors coming back. That's the important part to remember. Year-end summary receipts. If you have been receipting everything all along, you do not have to send year-end summary receipts. However, even if you have been receiving every individual gift, it's not a bad idea to do them. It shows the donor their total giving. It's an opportunity to re-engage with them. It makes tax prep easier for them, and it demonstrates your professionalism. So if you have been receiving donors all along, then you don't have to do this. If you haven't been, this is your last chance to be compliant with the law. So one key point here is that unless explicitly requested by the donor, you should acknowledge everybody as an individual. Don't make presumptions about people's relationship statuses or tax filing statuses. Send the donor to the person who signs the check or the person who makes the public donation or the online donation. Don't make guesses. And just like other tax documents, year-end summaries should go out by January 31st of the following year. That way donors will have what they need in time for their own tax filings. I've given a talk before about the difficulties of record keeping, so I'm not going to delve too far into this, but the key point I want to make here, especially when you're doing a lot of manual work, on the back end, is that you should start as you mean to go on. And what I mean by that is that you need to keep your data clean from the start. You need to correct mistakes as you find them. Don't allow quirks and oddball situations to stick around. Clean up the duplicates, fix the problems as you see them. So we have covered a lot of ground here. The key point I would like you to take away is that it is absolutely possible to start small and build a system and practices that will grow with your organization. And when you're ready to take the next steps, SKC is here as both a partner and a resource. The most important thing that I would like you to remember is that you do not have to do everything. You should do what you can do well and stay focused on your mission.